afternoon. It's a bright sunny day. Gardeners, health groups, here we are again. We are going to share something new for you, but let's review. I got my jump rope. I want to remind you, jump rope's your ticket in. I've said that multiple times. Get your heart rate up, jump your rope, go to some store, pick this up, get your jump roping on. 30 minutes to 60 minutes a day. Here's a sample of something you could do. We're going to, although, focus on a sport, and the sport today is tennis, but we're really going to look at doing racket sports, okay? So in my basket here, I've got a variety of rackets. So right here, this is a badminton racket. Some of you are stuck at home. Not too expensive. Once the stores open up, or borrow it from your neighbor if you have a badminton net. Get your badminton rackets out. Best on a non-windy day. This is a great activity for families, so that's an option. I actually brought another racket. This is called pickleball, and this is my daughter's racket, but this actually I brought out because Fremont has some amazing pickleball rackets, and I believe Dunham's, do a little cue in, Dunham's has some rackets that you can use and play some pickleball at the pickleball rackets by the old high school. So that's a racket option. We are, however, going to focus on tennis, okay? And tennis is a great sport because it's free. It's beautiful out. That's at the middle school. If you can borrow a racket or pick up, they're not too expensive, get a cheapie, go to the tennis courts and maybe you can practice. So we're going to go over some skills for tennis, but let me give you some words that might help you learn a little bit about the sport, okay? So this is review. We've talked about dominant and non-dominant. You remember your dominant review, your strong hand. Mine happens to be right. Your non-dominant tends to be your weaker hand, and if you remember, I always encourage you to do both. Work with both when you're throwing, when you're learning tennis, try a little bit of your non-dominant. So your dominant will typically hold the racket, and we'll get to that in just a second. This is called hand-eye coordination. So we've done some things with our hands. Now we're going to add a tool to it, and it basically, your eye and your hand are going to try to connect. Okay, so the big thing with hand-eye coordination is to don't give up. Continue to practice and you'll catch on. So hand-eye coordination was another word. So we need to talk about forehand and backhand. Here's my tennis racket. My forehand is kind of like my dominant hand. It's going to be my strong side hit. My backhand is when the ball is on my non-racket side. And I'll show you both in a minute. This is what you want to do. Your forehand, you'll be much better. Some people switch hands. I only know a couple people who do that, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. But forehand, backhand, non-racket side versus racket side. Use your forehand whenever possible, right? The next thing and last poster I have is this, the swing. I often talk about low to high. So when you play tennis, your racket starts low and it actually ends high, from low to high. And then in this sport, you want a stiff wrist. So I'm going to actually handshake. I'm going to handshake my handle to the end. Notice I'm not choking up. I'm going to handshake my racket, and when I swing, you're going to see a very stiff wrist. That's a good swing. Forehand, backhand. Now watch my feet a second. Forehand, I want the opposite foot, like when you're running. Forehand, and then backhand. I'll show you a hit in a minute. And you want your wrist connected to the racket. You don't want to swing. Difference, however, let me pull out this racket. If you choose to do this, is because what you have at home. This is a wrist action, badminton wrist, okay? Forehand, backhand. And if you know your tool, it's not a ball, it's called a birdie. So hopefully if you have that at home and you're doing it, that's amazing. So just happen to have a couple tennis balls. This is a slow hitting ball. This is an actual tennis ball, okay? Lots of those around. I'm actually going to hit the orange and yellow ball. Okay, so if you go to the tennis courts, you go with a parent, you can hit back and forth over the net. Here's a suggestion. There's a wall there. Go to the wall and practice. The wall doesn't lie. When you hit it straight, it's going to come back. If you hit it over there, it's going to go over there. When you play with mom or dad or sister, brother, it determines by how good they are how many hits you're going to get in. So we've been selecting this wall. I'm not going to tell you where we're at. It's a surprise. But we are going to try to do what's called a volley. Now in tennis, you either hit with 0 bounces or 1 bounce. If I'm practicing and it bounces twice, doesn't really matter. I'm just working on my hand-eye coordination. And I probably should tell you about this. Right here, and I know this is a lot of information, but we're on video. Come back to it. This is your sweet spot. Okay, your sweet spot is your good spot. Handle, throat, okay? You don't want to hit it on the outside of your racket. It's the sweet spot. And if you buy a brand new one, they usually have a design that's your target, okay? So here we go. I'm going to do what's called a volley. I'm just going to try to hit it back and forth from the wall. Okay? When I get pretty good, notice I'm just kind of tapping it. When I get pretty good, I'm going to go low to high. Oh, if it goes to my other side, backhand, backhand. Oh yeah, baby. Remember, I want to try to go forehand as much as possible. And I'm just going to work on my hitting. So, that's one thing you can do. Here's something else. This is easier, and maybe you can start at home without a wall before you go to the tennis courts. Take your racket, forehand. There are 2 positions, palm up, palm down, and just hit the ball. How many can you do in a row without a miss? All right, then you go to the top part, which actually would be your backhand when you get to the wall. Then we alternate. Oh, baby. Okay, some people are really good at this. They hit the edge. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, that's even harder. All right, here's your next challenge. Put your racket in your non-dominant hand. I'm not as good as my left, but it certainly helps working on my hand-eye coordination. Backhand, got a little work there. Alternate. Okay, if you have a hard surface, here's another thing you can do. Bounce down. Turn your hand over. Alternate. Take your non-dominant. We used to do a lot of these in the gym when we had school. Or you can hit them back up, or you alternate. Down, up. All right, so that's the game of tennis. It's a great game. Get out and practice. You got badminton, pick up your racket, try to get a birdie and start playing. Be active. We want you to be healthy. Here's a good way to do it because it's free. God bless you, and I hope you're having a great day. Hoorah.